Zinnia asked. Jessa rolled up her sleeve. Fractal scars called up her arm. The leviathan's not in the veil. It's here. In the soil, the water, the air. And it's got plans for you. She handed Zinnia a holodrive. Stole this from Vera's office. They've known about the cysts for months. The files were damning. Colony logs detailed energy surges weeks before the Theseus rescued Zinnia. Experiments on the cysts. Test subjects driven mad, babbling of us farther below. And a video. Governor Vera, staring into the camera, her eyes black and fractal scarred. The convergence is inevitable. Prepare the vessels. Zinnia's stomach churned. She's one of them. Jessa nodded. And you're the key. The Leviathan's been waiting for a host strong enough to survive the bond. Now that you're here. A roar shook the trench. Above, a cyst erupted through the street, tendrils lashing. Colonists screamed as hybrids clawed free, pale, faceless things with too many joints. Jessa grabbed Zinnia's hand. We need to move. The old mining tunnels beneath the colony stank of rotten lithium. Jessa led Zinnia to a makeshift bunker, its walls papered with star charts and scrawled warnings. A dozen colonists huddled inside, their eyes wide with fear. All bore fractal scars. They're immune, Jessa said. Like us. The Leviathan's whispers don't control them. Yet. A boy, no older than 16, approached Zinnia. Are you really her? The one from the Ark? Yes. He swallowed. Can you kill it? Zinnia touched her scar. The Leviathan's pulse answered, steady and mocking. I don't know, she said. The bunker's terminal accessed the colony's central mainframe. Zinnia traced the cysts spread, over 100 now, clustered around the geothermal vents. Governor Vera's voice crackled over the comms, surrender the infected, and the rest shall be spared. Jessa snorted. She'll purge the colony either way. The Leviathan wants a clean slate. Zinnia studied the vent schematics. The main geothermal plant, it's the colony's power source. If we overload it, you'll fry every cyst in a 50-mile radius, Jessa finished. And yourself. Zinnia stood. Get these people to the shuttles. You'll die. I've died before. The plant's core was a cavernous hellscape, turbines screaming as they churned the planet's molten heart. Cysts covered the walls, throbbing in unison. Governor Vera awaited her, flanked by hybrids. You're too late, Vera said. Her skin split, tendrils unfurling. The convergence begins. Zinnia charged. The fight was brutal. Hybrids swarmed, their claws scraping her armor. Vera's tendrils lashed, slicing steel. Zinnia's body moved with the Leviathan's precision, bone snapped, flesh tore, but she didn't stop. She reached the control panel. The overload sequence required a biometric key. Yours, the Leviathan whispered. Our blood. Our power. Zinnia slammed her palm onto the scanner. The core erupted. Fire consumed the cysts, the hybrids, Vera's screams. Zinnia fell, her body burning, the Leviathan's voice howling in triumph. You are ours. She woke in the rubble. Jessa knelt beside her, tears cutting through the ash on her face. You did it. The cysts are gone. Zinnia looked down. Her skin was whole, unblemished. But the scar pulsed, and the stars in her eyes burned brighter. In the distance, the colony burned. Somewhere deeper, in the planet's core, something laughed. Chapter 8. The air tasted like ash and ionized metal. Zinnia crouched in the shadow of the geothermal plant's ruins, her hands buried in the soil. The ground vibrated with a familiar rhythm, ba-dum, ba-dum, the Leviathan's pulse, weaker now but persistent. Jessa stood nearby, scanning the horizon with a stolen rifle, her fractal-scarred face lit by the embers of the colony. They're calling you a saint, Jessa said, nodding to the surviving colonists huddled around a makeshift campfire. Said you walked out of the flames without a scratch. That true? Zinnia flexed her fingers. The scales had spread to her palms, glittering faintly in the dark. Not a scratch. Jessa snorted. Liar. But keep playing the hero. They need it. The survivors' whispers carried on the wind. Miracle, martyr, mother. A child offered Zinnia a cup of filtered rainwater. Her reflection stared back, fractal eyes, skin shimmering like stardust. She drank, ignoring the way the water hissed against her throat. Governor Vera's body had not been found. The med bay was a converted storage container, its walls lined with salvaged equipment. Zinnia let the colony's new doctor, a twitchy man named Kale, scan her. His handheld sensor sparked when it neared her chest. Fascinating, he muttered. Your cellular structure is rewriting itself. Mitochondria replaced with fractal energy matrices. You're not human anymore. Tell me something I don't know, Zinnia said. Kale hesitated. There's something else. In your thalamus, a foreign neural cluster. It's growing. She touched her temple. The Leviathan's voice purred, soon, we'll share one mind. Can you remove it? Kale shook his head. Not without killing you. A scream tore through the camp. The cisterns were contaminated. Colonists who drank the water collapsed, their bodies convulsing as fractal patterns erupted beneath their skin. Zinnia knelt beside a thrashing woman, gripping her hand. It's in the water, Jessa said, voice tight. The Leviathan spores. The woman's eyes snapped open, pitch black and glowing. Father welcomes you, she hissed in Eden's voice before dissolving into silver sludge. Zinnia stood, her scar burning. We need to evacuate. Now. Jessa gestured to the crowd. To where? The shuttles are gone. The comms are dead. We're trapped. A child tugged Zinnia's sleeve. The bad lady's back. Governor Vera stood atop a collapsed habitation dome, her body reconstructed, tendrils for hair, skin replaced with iridescent scales. Behind her, the ground split, revealing a massive chasm glowing with bioluminescent fog. The convergence cannot be stopped, Vera intoned, her voice echoing across the colony. Kneel, and you will be remade. Resist, and you will be devoured. The colonists froze, caught between terror and awe. Zinnia stepped forward. You want a martyr? Let's give them one. She leapt at Vera. The fight was a blur of claws and teeth. Vera's tendrils lashed, slicing through steel. Zinnia moved faster, stronger, her body bending in ways that defied bone and sinew. She tore a pipe from the rubble and drove it through Vera's chest. The governor laughed, black blood bubbling from her lips. You think this matters, she gasped. The Leviathan is eternal. We are all its. Zinnia snapped her neck. The chasm shuddered, the bioluminescent fog rising like breath. Colonists screamed as the ground dissolved, swallowing tents and survivors. Jessa grabbed Zinnia's arm. The mining tunnels. Go. The tunnels were collapsing, walls oozing silver sludge. Zinnia led the survivors through the labyrinth, her fractal eyes piercing the dark. The Leviathan's pulse grew louder, vibrating in their teeth. A child whimpered. I hear singing. They all did. The song was Nalini's lullaby, the one she'd hummed during night shifts on the Ark. Zinnia's vision blurred, memories of Nalini's laughter, her warmth, her body dissolving into the Leviathan's grasp. Focus, Jessa snapped, shaking her. They emerged in a cavern, its ceiling lost to shadow. Below, a lake of liquid light churned, its surface reflecting constellations Zinnia didn't recognize. At its center stood a structure, an obsidian monolith etched with alien glyphs. It's a beacon, Jessa said. The Leviathan's been calling something. And it's almost here. The monolith hummed beneath Zinnia's touch. Glyphs flared to life, recounting the Leviathan's history, a cosmic parasite, devouring civilizations, birthing hybrids to infiltrate and corrupt. Kepler's for 52b was no accident, it was a trap. A cradle for its next evolution. Jessa decrypted the terminal beside the monolith. There's a reactor in the core. Detonate it, and you fry the Leviathan's neural network. But what? The reactor's key to your biometrics. Your new biometrics. Zinnia stared at the lake. It wants me to go down there. Yeah. And it'll be waiting. The descent was a free fall through liquid light. Zinnia plunged into the lake, her body burning, fractals blooming across her skin. The Leviathan's voice enveloped her. You are beautiful. You are divine. She landed in a cavern of living flesh. The walls pulsed, veins pumping silver blood to a massive heart suspended above, the Leviathan's true nucleus. Ribbons of light connected it to the ceiling, each humming with stolen memories. Her memories. Nalini stood beneath the heart, whole and unharmed. You don't have to do this, she said, tears glistening. We can be together. Forever. Zinnia's scar ached. You're not real. Nalini smiled, fractal pattern spiraling in her eyes. Aren't I? The heart shuddered. Hybrids crawled from the walls, their voices merging into Eden's chorus, Mother. Destroyer. Queen. Zinnia ignited the plasma cutter salvaged from the tunnels. I'm just a mechanic. She leapt. The fight was a symphony of light and teeth. Hybrids swarmed, claws raking her flesh. The Leviathan's heart pulsed, each beat eroding Zinnia's resolve. Nalini watched, weeping, as Zinnia carved a path to the reactor terminal. Please, Nalini begged. Don't leave me again. Zinnia hesitated. For a heartbeat, she almost believed. Then she input the detonation codes. The reactor flared. The Leviathan screamed. Nalini dissolved into stardust. You cannot kill us, the heart roared. We are Legion. Zinnia plunged the plasma cutter into the terminal. Then I'll kill me. The explosion was silent. Zinnia floated in the void, her body disintegrating, fractal scales peeling away like petals. The Leviathan's heart shattered, its tendrils shriveling. Kepler for 52b's core dimmed. A hand brushed hers. Nalini, radiant and whole, smiled. Rest now. Zinnia closed her eyes. She woke in the medbay. Jessa slumped in a chair beside her, bandages covering half her face. The survivors cheered, but their voices sounded muffled, distant. Zinnia's reflection was human again, eyes brown, skin unmarked. You did it, Jessa said. The Leviathan's gone. Zinnia touched her chest. No scar. No pulse. Outside, the twin moons shone. Somewhere, in the void between stars, something stirred. Chapter 9. The air on Kepler for 52b was thick with the scent of ozone and scorched earth. Zinnia stood at the edge of the colony's ruined habitation dome, her boot sinking into soil that glittered faintly, as if dusted with stardust. The survivors had begun rebuilding, their voices carrying across the camp, hopeful, fragile. But the silence beneath their chatter hummed. The Leviathan silence. Jessa approached, her rifle slung over a shoulder, the fractal scars on her neck pulsing faintly in the twilight. You're staring at the moons again. Zinnia didn't turn. The twin moons hung low, their surfaces veined with luminous cracks. They're brighter tonight. Yeah. Brighter every night. Jessa spat into the dirt. You think it's gone? Really? Zinnia flexed her hand. Her skin was smooth, human, but her reflection in the medbay mirror that morning had flickered, just for a moment, with fractal light. No. The nightmares began in earnest that night. Zinnia dreamt of Nalini standing in a field of stars, cradling a newborn wrapped in shimmering membranes. You were meant to be their mother, Nalini whispered, her voice layered with Eden's cadence. The infant's face split open, revealing a galaxy of teeth. She woke to screaming. Outside, the colony was in chaos. A geothermal vent had erupted near the eastern fields, spewing silver sludge that writhed like sentient mercury. Colonists fled as tendrils lashed from the fissure, snatching limbs and dragging them underground. Jessa tackled Zinnia as a tendril whipped past, slicing through a supply crate. "We need to seal it!" Jessa yelled over the cacophony. Zinnia's scar, a phantom ache where the leviathan's shard had once burned, flared. "It's not a vent. It's a vein." The tunnels beneath the colony were alive. Bioluminescent fungi coated the walls, their glow revealing skeletal remains fused with the rock. Jessa swept her flashlight over a half-digested corpse, its ribs splayed like wings. "They're tunneling toward the reactor." "Why?" Zinnia pressed her palm to the wall. The stone vibrated, a subsonic hymn that matched her pulse. "It's hungry." They reached the reactor chamber. The core, once dormant, now throbbed with blackened veins that pulsed in time with the twin moon's glow. Hybrids clustered around it, faceless, limbless things that slithered like eels. At the center stood Governor Vera, or what remained of her. Her torso had split open, tendrils cradling a pulsating cyst. "You're too late," Vera hissed, her voice a chorus of whispers. "The womb is open." Jessa fired. The hybrid eel scattered as pulse rounds tore into Vera's cyst. It burst, spraying acid that melted the floor. Zinnia lunged, plasma cutter blazing, but the ground gave way. They fell into the planet's heart. The chamber below was a cathedral of flesh and stone. Ribbed walls pulsed around a massive, ovular structure, a womb of translucent membrane, lit from within by swirling galaxies. Inside floated a leviathan embryo, its fractal eyes snapping open as Zinnia staggered to her feet. "Mother," it crooned, the word vibrating in her bones. Jessa gagged. That's you." The embryo's face mirrored Zinnia's, same scar, same starburst irises. The leviathan hadn't died. It had reborn itself. Through her. Nalini's voice echoed from the womb. "You carried its seed. Let it grow." Zinnia's hand shook. The embryo reached out, its tiny fingers brushing the membrane. A memory surged, herself on the Eos Ark, Nalini's hand in hers, whispering promises of a future. Of family. Jessa grabbed her arm. "Don't you dare fucking hesitate." The fight was a blur. Hybrids descended, screeching. Jessa carved a path with her rifle, her screams raw. Zinnia reached the womb, plasma cutter raised. The embryo smiled. "We are you," it whispered. "We are all." She plunged the cutter into the membrane. The explosion was silent. Light engulfed the chamber, erasing the hybrids, the womb, the embryo's pleading eyes. Zinnia's body dissolved, fractal scales, stardust, memories. Nalini's laugh. Juno's final breath. The Ark's dying scream. Then, nothing. Zinnia woke on a plain of white sand, the twin moons now fused into a single, bleeding star. Nalini sat beside her, whole and human, her hair braided with bioluminescent algae. "Is this death?" Zinnia asked. Nalini smiled. "It's a beginning." The ground trembled. In the distance, a new leviathan stirred, a colossus of light and shadow, its form ever shifting. "You cannot kill creation," it intoned. Zinnia stood. "But I can guide it." She stepped into the leviathan's glow. The colony thrived. Jessa stood at the edge of the terraforming fields, watching settlers laugh beneath a lavender sky. The geothermal vents had sealed. The soil was clean. A child tugged her sleeve. "Where's the hero?" Jessa glanced at the horizon, where the twin moons now shone with a steady, gentle light. "Gone. But she's still here." The wind carried a whisper, a lullaby, half-remembered, humming through the crops. Somewhere, in the void between stars, a new constellation flickered to life. Epilogue. The salvage ship Event Horizon drifted through the Veil's remnants, its scanners pinging. Captain Ria Torres frowned at the anomaly, a woman floating in the void, her body glowing with fractal light. Bring her in, Rhea ordered. The woman's eyes opened, galaxies swirling in her irises. She smiled. We are all our children now.